chaos happened this week in California. Los Angeles was on fire this week. It looked like something out of an apocalyptic movie. Now, let's be clear here, as Miranda alluded to earlier. This is man-made. We don't know for sure what exactly started these fires this time, but as Miranda also mentioned, some reports suggest that it may have been arson this time, as they have arrested a few individuals, I think. But at least some of these fires, perhaps not all, though, were arsonists. And however, even if this was arson, this, however, in California is not an isolated incident. And most of the time, it's very preventable. And it is not, I cannot stress this enough, it is not caused by climate change. Not at all. Extremely high winds from the Santa Ana winds, which they get all the time. It's nothing new because of climate change. Combined with poor water and forest management by California officials like Governor Gavin Newsom are completely to blame. Here's a video of the burning.
Flying right over that thing.
That's right. Clearly.
The whole entire hills are on fire. Holy shit. Oh my God.
I mean, that's an insane video, if you ask me. Not only that,
hey, Eric, real quick. I know this is going to derail it just a little bit, but go back to that last picture.
The one before this one?
Yeah. There's a very distinguishable product placement in the bottom left-hand corner.
McDonald's.
That's wild.
Which there was a video going around of a McDonald's fully engulfed in flames. It might be that one. I don't know. It's not like McDonald's saying, yeah. No, you're good eye. I didn't even see that before.
I was like looking at this, and the only thing you can really distinguish and be like, hey, I know that place is the McDonald's.
There's a Golden Arches. They got one on every corner around the world nowadays. Mm-hmm. Good enough, though.
Sorry.
You're fine. You're perfectly fine. Got to bring a little levity because this is a bit of a hard story to listen to. But that video I just showed you, though, the plane going over the fire, that's just the Pacific Palisades fire off to the left here on the map. 15,000 plus acres destroyed in just the Palisades fire alone. And there are many more photos and videos out there showing the devastation. The stuff I'm showing just does not do this justice. Reports stated that Los Angeles wildfires were moving at 2 to 3 football fields in length per minute.
That's wild.
High winds also caused power lines to spark in some locations, combined with embers from fires already started, potentially creating new fires. Other fires in Sylmar and Eaton, I believe that's how you pronounce that, separated from the main one in the Palisades, quickly spread across many acres in a matter of minutes. Upwards of 4 or more massive fires at one time in the area at the time were reported, and a 5th one breaking out on Wednesday evening. In some locations, due to the wind, flames were as high as 20 or 30 feet tall. Imagine that. That's insane. It's like a wall of fire.
Wild. Brother, me and Aaron were talking about this on the way home. Listen, let's not pretend like California hasn't caught on fire before. It's the same shit.
Many times.
You know what fucking happens. You have to have insurance for this particular reason. Just like if you move to fucking Florida by the beach, you have to have hurricane insurance. So you have to have this fire insurance. Now, all these celebrities and fucking millionaires that live out there, they'll be fine. They'll be just fucking fine. All that shit in their house is insured and replaceable. They ain't gonna worry about it.
The insurance companies are dropping their fire coverage.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about that too. Just give me a hot second. I'll get to it. But this is a man who films his home is surrounded by flames. Look how tall that is, and he's probably on a hill.
First of all, why are you still there?
I don't know. It was him and another man, and I think a dog was in this house. I thought I heard that they got out okay, but I don't know for certain. But either way, loads of looting and attempted burglaries were also taking place as people looked to take advantage of this whole ordeal. Los Angeles County fire hydrants ran out of water because Democrat officials refused to refill the reservoirs, or they didn't have the proper pressure to make the hydrants work properly. So they were pretty well helpless. Now, there's also a DEI hire and LA Mayor Karen Bass, who wasn't even in the country as her city burned. She was in Ghana, I think. Mm-hmm. But in her downtime between planning her next Pride Parade march, she cut funding for firefighters this last year by $18 million.
Right funding.
I guess she figured, what the hell? Without water, firefighters can't do anything about it anyway. So LA literally put liberal ideology in the form of unqualified DEI hires over saving lives and homes. Home insurance companies. Yeah, go ahead.
They let the wonderful company have the water rights for their business.
Okay.
So
Who's the wonderful
pistachios, the pomegranate juice, I can't remember what else. Oranges. They grow all kinds of stuff in California, and they have the water rights to that county, so they get the water first before the citizens.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's good to make, but someone could be like, how much of a profit can I get from this too? I mean, but yeah. So let's see. So yeah, but even homeowner insurers canceled insurance for fire damage weeks before this happened, knowing that this was an inevitability. I don't necessarily think this is like insurance companies being like evil. It's more of, we see the writing on the wall. This is going to happen. We're going to have to pay all this out, and it's going to be a liability. But is it that, or is this potentially a land grab by some of these people? Like they're wanting to burn everything down so they can take the land, much like in Maui, which it looks a lot not. I mean, it makes you at least think about it. But it's also interesting to note that back in 2018, Donald Trump, he tried to warn California about this. This is him literally standing right next to Governor Gavin Newsom, talking about how they need to have better forest management in regards to their fire prevention.
There's been a lot of study going on over the last little while, and I will say I think you're going to have, hopefully this is going to be the last of these, because this was a really, really bad one. And
not as bad as this one.
Gavin's committed. We're all committed. I'm committed to make sure that we get all of this cleaned out and protected. We got to take care of the floors, the floors of the forests, very important. You look at other countries where they do it differently, and it's a whole different story. I was with the president of Finland, and he said, we have a much different, we're a forest nation. He called it a forest nation. And they spend a lot of time on raking and cleaning and doing things, and they don't have any problem. And when it is, it's a very small problem. So I know everybody's looking at that, to that end, and it's going to work out. It's going to work out well.
And remember, everybody laughed at Donald Trump instead of taking him seriously. California just flat out ignored him here. He was absolutely right. In fact, Trump has warned them multiple times. Here he is on Joe Rogan's podcast late last year before the election discussing this very topic.
Oh, okay.
Which I think you know everything, actually, as a student of yours. but water, in Los Angeles, you can't get proper amounts of water.
Right.
And it's unbelievably expensive. And you might have a house in Beverly Hills, and they're actually thinking about rationing water. Could you believe it?
I can believe it.
I was in the farm court country with some of the congressmen. We're driving up a highway, and I say, how come all this land is so barren? It's farmland, and it looked terrible. It was just brown and bad. I said, but there's always that little corner that's so green and beautiful. They said, we have no water. I said, do you have a drought? No, we don't have a drought. I said, why do you have no water? Because the water isn't allowed to flow down. It's got a natural flow from Canada all the way up north. Water, more water than they could ever use. And in order to protect a tiny little fish, the water up north gets routed into the Pacific Ocean. Millions and millions of gallons of water gets poured. You got to see this. We're driving up, and I had never seen it before. It's like Iowa. It's the most fertile land. Iowa's blessed with great land. Idaho for a potato, right?
Yeah.
But they're just, by the way, some land is good for a potato. Some land is good for corn. It's the craziest thing. I love the farmers. They're great. They're the greatest. And by the way, they're getting killed right now.
They are.
They're getting killed because of this stupid administration. But so I see this, and I said, you got to be kidding. I said, you mean you have water? And I looked at it. It's like a valve in your sink, except it's massive. The thing's 5 times taller than your ceiling.
Did you know the center of California was a giant lake?
They have so much water.
You ever see what it looks like before they
No, I
rerouted
never
it?
saw that.
The
No.
center of California, like, was it 200 years ago? How long ago did they do that, Jamie? The center of California had a fucking enormous lake in the middle of
So
California.
they dumped it into the Pacific.
Who knows what they did? But with whatever foolishness that they did led to the situation that they're in now.
Think of those dry forests that burned down all over
Mhm.
the world. You know, the head of Austria said,
There
you know,
is Tulare Lake or Tachi Lake. It's a freshwater lake in
Freshwater.
the southern San Joaquin Valley, United States. Historically, Tulare Lake was one of the largest freshwater lakes west of Mississippi. Show a photo of what it looked like back then.
it's a great system.
So that's what it looked like. Look at that
Wow.
image. Now go to the
Oh,
one on
wow.
the third from the right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Oh,
was an
wow.
enormous
What a
lake
beautiful
in the
thing.
middle of California. Imagine
That'd
that.
be much more valuable
How
property.
crazy is that?
Oh,
But how
wow.
crazy is
So
that's what it
did
used
they
to look
do?
like? And human beings
Yeah.
screwed that
No,
up.
they let it go into the Pacific, and then they.
I don't know
did
what they
something.
did. What did they do? How did it go
Wow.
missing?
Yeah, they drained it.
1983. Oh my God. Oh, it went dry a handful of times. Well, lakes do go dry, but that's a big one.
But think of
It's a
it.
big one to go
you
dry.
could have all of the water you need. All of that land would have more water. The whole thing could be like that little patch.
Yeah.
Literally, I'd say I was with Devin Nunes, a congressman, and other congressmen. We were going up. I was visiting that because they asked me to go up and visit their territory, and I did. But I kept saying, look at this land. It's beautiful, but it's so dry. And I thought they were going through like a desert, like a drought. They said, no, we have water, but it gets rid. So I looked into it.
What is the fish?
And I got it done. I could have water for all of that land, water for your forests. Your forests are dry as a bone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dangerous.
That water could be routed. You could have everything. Oh, not only dangerous, billions of dollars a year they spend on forest fires. And, there's a case with the environment. They're not allowed to rake their forests because you're not allowed to touch it. When a tree falls down, after 18 months, it becomes very dry. It's like, like real firewood. It's bad. A tree that's up, these are all things I learned the hard way, the easy way. But when a tree is up, it sucks water. It's wet. I went to they had a couple of horrible forest fires in California. And I said, you had a lot of trees standing. Yes, they were healthy trees there. I said, with this intense heat, that you could see they were charred a little bit on the bottom, but they were going to be all right because they're soaking wet because they suck up the water, right? But when they fall,
right,
they're like, it's like lighting a match.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to clean. They call maintain your forest. So I was with the head of Austria. He said, it's a shame. I see all those forest fires in California, and all they have to do is clean their forest, meaning rake it up, get rid of the leaves, get rid of, leaves that are sitting there for 5 years. And
we'll certainly get rid of the dead fall.
And get rid of the trees that have fallen.
Yeah.
That, are like so many things this country. By the way,
could you really
I had
rake
it all
the whole
done.
forest, though? I don't think you could rake the whole forest.
Well, you could,
I think you can get rid of the dead fall, but raking all the leaves.
You could certainly get rid of the dead, okay?
Yeah, I think that's the real issue.
Environmentally, they don't want to do that. They said, it's got to be nature and all this stuff. But in the meantime, this is exactly.
Yeah. So he just goes on and on. But at the same time, he's absolutely correct, though. I mean, I don't see, and remember, Trump was mocked for this interview too. I mean, when he was talking, everybody just treats him like he's stupid. He's not stupid. You don't get to be where he is by being stupid. I'm sorry.
They don't get to call him stupid while saying Biden's sharp as a fucking tack.
Yeah, who can't even remember that his vice president actually ran for office. He can't remember that. I mean, what the hell? I can't believe that. But I mean, literally.
A few moments later.
I mean, literally, in 28, I think the years is off, but it's for the meme. But yeah, you got, Donald Trump literally standing next to Gavin Newsom being mocked for saying you need to take care of your, forest, floor. And then this week when Gavin Newsom is literally looking at the forest on fire. It's like, dude. And he ignored Trump. Why? All just because of stupid biased politics. This is what happens when you put leftist policies in place. The world literally burns. But I mean, seriously. But what do these leftist Democrat officials have to say for themselves? DEI Mayor Karen Bass has zero answers after returning to the country finally to address this issue after her trip to Ghana.
Being absent while their homes were burning. Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? have you nothing to say today?
I guess her
Absolutely
new
nothing to
Democrat
say to the
talking point
citizens
patch
today?
hasn't upgraded or uploaded.
Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster?
Total incompetence, guys.
No apology for them?
She's
Do you
begging.
think you should have been visiting
Begging
Ghana
someone to
while
open that
this was
door.
unfolding back home?
She's trying to get up out of there, boy.
I mean, this goes on for minutes, like another 2 whole minutes before she's able to get away from this guy. Yeah, it's a reporter.
Why couldn't she have just given like a blanket statement? Oh, this is a horrible tragedy. We're gonna look into how to
say something.
Because she doesn't have any empathy for anybody either. They don't care.
Yeah, she just didn't say nothing. Like she said
She
nothing.
doesn't care.
Like I
and
said,
she just doesn't
like I
want
said,
to be held
her
accountable for any of it.
her Democrat answer and talking points hadn't uploaded yet to her brain. She hadn't been told what to say yet. That's the problem. So she has no free thought. It's like, a hive mind. They have to tell you what to say, put it in front on a teleprompter in front of her at a speech, and then she might be able to say it. But even though she was, I think if she was supposed to like talk about how you had to get, if you wanted to support, you could go to a website, but she literally read the letters URL on the teleprompter at her little speech she gave. It's like Joe Biden 2.0. But I guess, yeah. California Governor Gavin Newsom, on the other hand, at least he's saying stuff. It's BS, but Gavin blames Donald Trump for politicizing this tragedy instead of owning up to his own actions that actually led to the tragedy.
We're in the public safety phase.
I hate to even ask this question, but the president-elect chose to attack you, blame you for this.
One can't even respond to it. I mean, it's people are literally fleeing. People have lost their lives. Kids lost their schools. Families completely torn asunder. Churches burned down. This guy wanted to politicize it. I have a lot of thoughts, and I know what I want to say. I won't. I stood next to the president of the United States of America today, and I was proud to be with Joe Biden.
Does anybody get the whole this is fiery but peaceful protest vibes by looking at this as a building is burning in the background?
It's all about it's all a statement. It's all look at the.
He's always the first one out there to make a political statement, be like, look, I'm on the scene. I really care. But then he does nothing when it's all over. Simple as that. No, it wasn't Donald Trump politicizing it. All Donald Trump did was call you out on your bullshit. Apparently, we're not allowed to question or criticize incompetence and negligence now. Screw Gavin Newsom and screw Anderson Cooper of CNN for phrasing that question in a way that paints Trump as the bad guy. It's absolutely disgusting. Of course, that was the point. Yeah, that's all they wanted to do. But this piece of shit does not care about his people in California at all. He spent minutes seemingly just trying to blow off a concerned citizen just the other day.
Governor, I live here, Governor. That was my daughter's school, Governor. Please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
I'm sorry. There's literally.
Did you see what he just did there? He lied. He said, I'm literally on the phone talking to President Biden. Then she says, can I hear it? Because I don't believe it. I want to hear it. Then he looks down his phone. Then he goes, oh, well, I don't have signal right now. I'm actually trying to get a hold of him. But, so he's lying through his ass here.
I've tried 5 times. That's why I'm walking around to make the
Why
call.
is the president not taking your call?
Because it's not going through. So
Why?
I have to get cell service.
So let's get it. Let's get it. I want to be here when you call the president.
I appreciate it. I'm doing that right now. And it's to immediately get reimbursements, individual assistance, and to help you. I'm devastated for you. I'm so sorry, especially for your daughter. I have 4 kids.
Everyone who went to school there, they lost their homes. They lost 2 homes because they were living in one and building another. Governor, please tell me, what are you going to do with the president right now?
We're getting the resources to help rebuild.
Why was there no water in the hydrants, Governor?
It's all literally.
Is it going to be different next time?
No. It has to be. Has to be. Of course.
What are you going to do?
I'm doing
To fill
everything
the
I can.
hydrants. I would fill them up personally. You know that. I would fill up the hydrants myself. But would you do
You
that?
voted for this
I will
shit.
do whatever
Like,
I can.
what we
You're
talking about?
not. I see the Do you know there's water dripping over there, Governor? There's water coming out there. You can use it.
I appreciate it. I'm going to make the call to address everything I can right now, including.
Well, to be honest, and I'm gonna talk about this in a second too. We don't know exactly if these people still vote for these people. I think California cheats every single time. It's the only way these people, these incompetent, negligent people, are still in office, like Nancy Pelosi, for 30 fucking years. I'm sorry, and I'm sorry if I sound pissed. It's because I am. It's ridiculous, this bullshit. But we have to sit here and watch it because Democrats are ruining this country. But all Gavin Newsom was pulling his best Karen Bass impersonation here. All he wanted to do was get out of there. You can clearly tell. He started by saying he was on the phone with the president. Then when the woman asked to hear the conversation, like I said, then he wasn't able to get a hold of him due to no signal. Okay, sure. He's such a greasy-haired liar. And Mel Gibson even said if he spent less money on his hair products, maybe he'd be able to afford to fix stuff in the damn state. But if this was Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida, DeSantis would have had all the answers to this woman's questions, and it would have been taken care of yesterday. Because if it wasn't, you know what would have happened? The media would have crucified Ron DeSantis for the negligence.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it's different D for Democrats.
You know, the support that they're going to get is probably just as much support as the people in the North Carolina got.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Don't worry. Don't worry. Joe Biden just sent more money to Ukraine. Hold on just a second. I guess Gavin Newsom was, though, finally able to get a signal for a Zoom call, though, because today on Friday, on January 10th, Gavin Newsom was on a Zoom call with Joe Biden because Gavin Newsom was so upset and his feelings were hurt that he was being held accountable with legitimate, valid criticisms. He called Joe Biden on Friday to beg Joe to, quote, stop the misinformation about the California fires, not because he cares, but because it'll likely destroy his political career.
There were hurricane force winds of mis and disinformation, lies. People want to divide this country, and we're going to have to address that as well. And it breaks my heart as people are suffering and struggling that we're up against those hurricane forces as well. And that's just a point of personal privilege that I share that with you because.
Does anybody buy that BS at all?
No.
I mean, these people are so up their asses and out of touch with reality that they cannot ever admit or even realize that it's them that have driven this country into the fucking ground. Going back to the free speech topic, what Gavin is asking for here is control over what's allowed and not allowed to be talked about. That is what dictators do. I mean, what else do I got to say? Literally.
You're doing good.
Am I hitting it on the head? I mean,
no, you're doing great.
Like, I would just like to know what's the misinformation they're saying here. Is Los Angeles not burning to the ground?
Yeah. Did they not run out of water? I mean, we know all this stuff to be true.
Did they not cut the firefighter budget? I mean,
yeah.
Where's the misinformation? Tell me.
It's just information that makes them look bad. That's the problem. It's got nothing to do with what's being said.
Well, I really don't think they can look any worse, so they can keep going.
I don't know. Give them time. Don't put it past them. Democrats and Gavin Newsom are 100% responsible for this Armageddon scenario that has thousands of homes and structures completely reduced to ash. Now, word to the wise, Gavin Newsom, stop ignoring Smokey the Bear. Only you can prevent forest fires. I mean, God help us if that man ever becomes president.
Oh, no.
Hopefully, this whole incident will ruin any hopes of Gavin Newsom has at ever achieving that accolade. Maybe his chances have gone up in smoke, just like everything else. Gavin Newsom, I agree with Donald Trump. He should resign.
Yeah, this is your fault.
But like I said, speaking of useless presidents, Joe Biden is apparently set to send yet another $500 million to Ukraine this week, despite the tragedy in LA. So let's recap here. Joe Biden let Maui burn. Joe Biden let North Carolina drown. Joe Biden let East Palestine, Ohio suffer from toxic air and pollution. And now Joe Biden is also letting California burn. And meanwhile, Joe Biden sends more of your tax money to Ukraine for the final time, supposedly, during his presidency, to the overall tune of $65 billion in total. America last is going to be Joe Biden's legacy. It's such a disgrace, but don't worry, 10 more days, help is coming. So look at this.
Wild.
This looks like a nuclear bomb went off. If you still think
Yeah, and there's
that,
more fires starting to.
oh yeah,
like-
as far as I know, there's still, last I heard was still zero containment. So I don't know how
Yeah.
much of this is still happening days later. But yeah, if you still think watching this show that Democrats are the best party to lead this country or your cities after seeing this, let alone everything that's been happening in Chicago, New York, and all these big liberal towns, like the murders and stuff, I cannot say this any nicer, but you are an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
And you better start paying attention. Like,
open your eyes, people. But if you live in California, although I understand that in all likelihood, the only way Democrats have held on to power so long in your state is due to cheating. And while I have sympathy for those of you whose lives have forever been changed by this because it's awful, and I do pray for you, to be frank, as Brandon said, for those of you affected that actually voted for these incompetent, negligent individuals, you, on the other hand, you voted for this.
Yeah, you voted for that shit.
You get more. Flat out. For you, my sympathy's lesser, but it still sucks.
It still sucks. I mean, this is, man, dude.
I mean, this
you
is,
don't want to see it happen to anybody, but I hope to God they learn from it.
Yes.
You hope, and hopefully, and it does feel like there's been some people, like even that woman who went to and confronted Gavin. Those, I mean, there are even some celebrities going, "This is bullcrap," and they're finally coming around. If that's what it, I mean, of all the things California's had to endure over the last 30 years, if this is finally what shakes them out of apathy, I mean, maybe it's been allowed to happen for a reason. I mean, I hate to think that way, but I mean, hopefully at least something good can come out of it, at least. You know what I mean? Thank you for checking out this clip of the Dragon's Den podcast. If you like what you saw here, please consider checking out our live podcast almost every single Friday night here on the channel at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And until our next video, guys, take care and God bless.